Canadian Alison Jackson celebrates moment after crossing finish line to win women's one-day 145-kilometer Paris-Roubaix race at Velodrome in Roubaix, northern France, on April 8. Tim DeWail. The Associated Press. Just a few kilometers from the finish of one of the world's toughest bike races, Canadian Alison Jackson looked behind her and saw a group chasing just seconds behind. Almost close enough to touch. Followers included the sport's top stars and were quickly closing the distance. It was decision time. Relax and get the chance to race to a bigger finish. Or force yourself to stay away and risk being blown up but maybe win it all. Ms. Jackson and her breakaway friends were the survivors of a small group that was about 110 kilometers ahead of the 145 kilometers race. They were crushed and injured while racing on 30 kilometers of cobblestone roads throughout northern France. But so were their followers. No one may have much left in the tank. The leaders followed suit, and the Paris-Roubaix femmes still had a loophole as they approached the finish line. "I just wanted to ride a horse with all my heart," said Ms. Jackson from the European base in Girona, Spain, a few days later. "I had to be my own best cheerleader." Gambling worked. He scored a decisive sprint finish on Saturday to achieve the biggest victory of his career, and one of the biggest in Canadian professional cycling. He is only North American to win men's version of race that dates back to 1896, or women's race, which was held for third time last weekend. "It's huge in terms of its position in sport," said senior cycling commentator Anthony Macrosson, who organizes races for the ASO, which hosts Tour de France, Paris-Roubaix, and other major events. "I think this is a very important point for Canadian cycling. Because think it's a very inspiring moment for any Canadian girl who sits there and watches this and thinks, now I want to be Alison Jackson, want to ride a bike." Paris-Roubaix is often called the Hell of the North. The nickname comes from the desolate landscape as racers drove through old battlefields after the First World War. But it can also be easily applied to the challenges of the race itself. "There is no other race on the calendar like this," said Ms. Jackson, 34, who grew up on a bison farm near Vermilion, Alta. "These streets we're on, these cobblestone streets are very tough. It's ridiculous that anyone would want to ride in these. Nobody wants to ride them, but we race them because of the long history of racing. The route deliberately zigs and zags to get paving stones, which in some cases date to Napoleonic roads. These cobblestone bits are slippery, bone-shaking, and treacherous. Equipment failure is also common, as are hard collisions and unpredictable moments." Former pro and Roubaix winner Sean Kelly described it as a horrible race to ride, but the most beautiful race to win. Five-time Tour de France champ.